I'm talking about a big world championship boxing event that's happening Saturday in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, now I've personally trained strength and conditioning with one of these guys, so I have a little bit of insight. It was about 2 years ago when I was in Omaha, Nebraska. The fight this weekend that I'm talking about is Jamel versus Shakur Stevenson. I'm going to break it down for you guys, give me my prediction, and kind of go into the fight of it. Okay, so let's look at it right away. Jamel Herring, 35 years old, former Marine, 23-2, 70-inch reach, southpaw, going against Shakur Stevenson, who's a lot younger, 11 years younger. 24 years old for Shakur, 16-0, 5'8". I think that might be a little generous. I'd say Shakur is probably 5'7", 5'6", reach 68, southpaw stance as well. Okay, so obviously if you look at just the tail of the tape that I just read, Shakur's got the youth on his side. However, his record being 16-0, when I looked at it, I've never even heard of one of these guys that Shakur's fought. Now, sometimes in boxing, what you'll see is some of these young prospects will just face, sometimes at the beginning it'll be tomato cans, and then it'll be guys that aren't necessarily tomato cans, but they're not great fighters. They're just fighters that, are trying to get guys like Shakur in the door to pad their record. Okay, so this is Shakur Stevenson's biggest fight, his biggest test by far. If you look at Jamel Herring, he's actually fought some guys, okay, that I've heard of. Carl Frampton, he beat TKO. That was earlier this year. That's got some legitimacy to it, okay? You can look at Carl Frampton and go, okay, this guy's pretty good. That was for the WBO World Super Featherweight title. That's what will be on the line this weekend. You also look at another guy, Lamont Roach, Ito. So Jamel's been tested. He's been in big fights. However, if you look at the odds of this fight, they're actually ridiculous, okay? If you go to proboxingodds.com, they list all the sports books, the major sports book odds. And the majority of the odds have Shakur, I'll read them to you, FanDuel, minus 950, MGM, minus 700, DraftKings, minus 700, William Hill, minus 1,000. Okay, and for those of you who don't know about gambling odds, minus 1,000 means you have to bet $1,000 in order to win $100 on Shakur. Okay, the rest of them, PointsBet has them at a minus 900, Unibet minus 900, Bet365 minus 900. Now you look at Jamel Herring, FanDuel plus 550, MGM plus 550, DraftKings plus 500, William Hill plus 650. This website's good if you want to bet, because let's say you want to bet Jamel Herring. A bunch of these odds have him at plus 500, but William Hill has him at plus 650. That's the best odds you're going to get. So if you're going to gamble, use this website and get the most out of it. I'm personally going to take Jamel Herring, and I'll tell you guys why in a second. I'm going to take him as the underdog. I'm going to go through William Hill for a plus 650. That's a huge underdog, okay? That means if I put $100, I win $650. If I put $1,000, I win $6,500, okay? I don't know exactly how much I'm going to put on Jamel yet, but after training with him and seeing how this guy grinds, it's tough for me not to bet on him, okay? Although he is a little older at 35, and like I said, Shakur's got the youth, he's 24. I don't think Shakur's been tested. And after looking at some of the fight lead-up videos, it seems like Shakur is very confident, which is good. All fighters need to be confident, but he seems a little overconfident, okay? He seems a little overconfident going into this fight. Okay, Jamel's lost 2 fights, but since he changed camps and started working with Terrence Bud Crawford's team in Omaha, Nebraska, my hometown, he hasn't lost. If you guys know anything about Terrence Bud Crawford, #1 pound for pound boxer. He's got one of the best teams, okay? He's got a great strength and conditioning coach, in my opinion, the best in the world. Yes, in the world, Jamel, okay? He's got Red Spikes, he's got Bomac, but he's got a lot of good coaches around him, a great team. And one thing about this team is, for every camp, they go up to Colorado and train in the mountains, in the high altitude. And I promise you, Jamel will be in the best shape of his entire life. You don't believe me? I'll post a picture and you can just look at it and you're gonna think, oh my God, that guy might have 3-4% body fat. I'm telling you guys, all they do leading up to these fights is train. They have, I think it's called Perfecting Athletes, is their nutritionist, their meals are on point, there's no BS, and they just get after it, okay? And it's worked for Jamel. I think that was the best decision he made, was switching camps and going with Team Crawford and working with those guys that I just named. And that's why I'm gonna take him at a +650. I think that is crazy that he's a +650. Jamel's the champ, keep in mind. I think a +650 is disrespectful. Okay, if you look at Shakur, sure, maybe he has a little more talent in terms of raw boxing ability, but sometimes that doesn't always win you the fight. Jamel is a former Marine, hoorah, and this guy, I think he's gonna lay it all on the line. He knows that this is the biggest fight of his life, by far. If he wins this puts him on the map in terms of global superstar status, okay? He's already a champ. He's already, done a lot, and, I don't think he necessarily needs to prove himself anymore to solidify him being a world-class boxer. But with a win over Shakur, being 16-0, this will just elevate his superstar status even more. You guys watch my videos, you know a lot of times I take the favorites, okay? And that's because I usually take the guy who I think is more talented. And like I said, Shakur might be the more talented raw boxer, but this is a fight. Boxing is not a sport, okay? It's a fight. And the grit that I see in Jamel, the fight that I see in him, his ability to grind and push, I think are gonna show. And although I don't think this is gonna be won by a knockout, I think it's gonna go to the judges' scorecards. Something tells me that Harry just outworks Stevenson. He's just gonna outwork him a little bit each round. Shakur might get, the better of him in a few rounds, but something tells me when it's said and done, and they go to the judges' scorecards, Jamel's hand's gonna be raised, and it's gonna be a huge underdog story, okay? A +650, that's huge. Okay, so you guys can win a lot of money on this if you take Jamel. Keep in mind, he is the champion. So he's the underdog on the odds, but he's the champ, okay? So it's a little weird if you ask me. Maybe Vegas just doesn't see what I see. They haven't been in, a training camp with him. And like I said, it was just strength and conditioning. But I've seen how this guy boxes. I've watched his previous fights, okay? And he's just got that dog mentality. He can dig. He can, in those late rounds, he's not going to be tired, okay? One thing I also want to point out, I saw Shakur has a baby on the way. His fiance or his girlfriend, I don't know what the situation is with that, but he has a baby on the way, meaning he's been having to deal with a pregnant girlfriend, wife, whatever you want to call it. And let me tell you, from experience, that is a very, very, very stressful situation, okay? And having to deal with that during a camp, I don't know if his girl's been with him or if she's been somewhere else, but if she's been with him, that's a lot of stress, guys. It's a lot of stress. And when you're training for a fight, you have to have your mind completely clear. The only thing you can focus on is the fight in hand, okay? I'm not saying, I know the whole situation with Shakur's personal life. I don't know anything about that, okay? I've only watched his boxing career. But like I said, in the Blood, Sweat, and Tears fight promo, the little videos that they've been making, they show that. And I have to take that into account when I'm thinking about betting, because I know how stressful it is to deal with a pregnancy, deal with, you know, the whole situation. A lot goes into it, okay? Especially if it's your first one. And I can guarantee you, Jamel hasn't had to deal with that, okay? He's been up in Colorado with Team Crawford, just getting after it, waking up, eating good, going for a run, going to the boxing gym, going for a swim, going up to the mountains. It's just grind after grind after grind session. I'm not saying Shakur's not doing that. I'm sure he is. I don't know if he's overlooking Jamel. He'd be stupid if he was, but something just tells me Jamel gets it done after looking at everything involved in this fight. It's this weekend in Atlanta. I'm excited, guys. It's going to be a great fight. If you're a boxing fan, you tune into this. This is going to be an unbelievable fight. I'm excited. And like I said, my final prediction is Jamel Herring with the upset. Maybe a split decision, maybe unanimous, but I just see it with Jamel getting his hand raised. I want to give a shout out to Jamel. Good luck. I think you got this, champ. And guys, thanks again for tuning in. Watch the fight this weekend. I believe it's probably around 9 o'clock Eastern time, so get ready for that. I'm excited, but guys, thanks again for tuning in. I'll make a reaction video to the fight. But yeah, Jamel Herring plus 650. I'll probably put around 1,000, maybe 2,000, we'll see. But guys, thanks for tuning in. If you liked the video, hit the subscription, and until next time, I'm out.